It seems like every time there is an expansion situation in the SEC, South Carolina gets hit pretty hard as far as the schedule goes. Back in 2012, when Missouri and A&M came in the league rather quickly, the Gamecocks ended up with a three-game stretch in the middle of the season of Georgia at home, at LSU, and at the best Florida team Will Muschamp had during his four-year tenure with the Gators. That was a brutal stretch for Steve Spurrier and his team. The Gamecocks went 1-2 by the end of it. It was a beat up football team, a sick football team, and it ended in a 44-11 loss in a game at the Swamp where South Carolina actually outgained the Gators 199-198 in total yardage. Just a bizarre football game. And the way that stretch ended, that team was much better than that game. But it just goes to show you that in the SEC, when you have a stretch like this, and certainly South Carolina is not alone with having these types of scheduling experiences. If you look around the league, Oklahoma certainly did not get any favors from the league office, but you have to go do it. And this is like another time that expansion has come, and it's not been good for the Gamecocks. But the Gamecocks can't do anything about it in 2024. You got to go play, and what an opportunity for this football team to show off its depth. This is a deeper football team than any I can remember since the Spurrier era. The Gamecocks do have to get some key players like Lenora Sellers and Rocket Sanders healthy and back for Ole Miss starting Saturday. But this is a team that you kind of look at and go, well, they're probably equipped a little bit better than some teams in recent years that really had no depth. They couldn't afford any injuries, and the Gamecocks don't have the mass numbers of injuries this season. It's just a couple of guys that are very key, especially on offense, are banged up. Luckily on defense, which that side of the ball is going pretty well for Carolina. They're fine, as of right now. It starts with Ole Miss this weekend. The Rebels are coming off a shocking home loss to Kentucky in their SEC opener. They're 4-1. It is a must-win for Lane Kiffin and his group. The Rebels come to Williams-Brice Stadium for the first time since 2009. That's the infamous Sandstorm Thursday night game. Ole Miss was ranked fourth at the time. The Gamecocks won 16-10, and it was the highest-ranked team Carolina had defeated in program history at the time. Of course, the next year, South Carolina defeated Alabama at home, and that remains the highest ranked team. They were number one. So you're not going to top that unless another number one falls at Williams-Brice Stadium. The Rebels are a good football team. They're ranked 12th now. They were probably going to be in the top five had they pulled out that Kentucky win. They're a preseason favorite to reach the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin is 2-0 against the Gamecocks in his coaching career. But has not faced Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. I don't think Lane Kiffin's even coached a game at Williams-Brice Stadium as a coordinator or otherwise. I think he had left Alabama by the time the Tide rolled in 2019 and won a nationally televised game on CBS 47-23. The next stop is Tuscaloosa. Speaking of the Tide, that's also a place and a matchup the Gamecocks had not played since 2009. That was the infamous Mark Ingram Wildcat game where Carolina battled. In that one, I was actually there in Tuscaloosa watching it. Could have probably been a little closer at the end. It was 20-6, but they could not stop Ingram out of the Wildcat that night. And that really kind of facilitated Alabama's season, which ended in a national championship. It was a tough football game, and the Gamecocks will go down there. Alabama's really good this year, despite Nick Saban not being on the sidelines. They beat Georgia last weekend. The third stretch of this is a game at Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma pulled out an outstanding win at Auburn. They did not give up. They were the beneficiaries of some good fortune on defense with a pick six late and topped Auburn for their first SEC win in program history, 27-21. Started Michael Hawkins Jr., a true freshman out of Texas, benching five-star Jackson Arnold, and they won. Hawkins can get you with his legs. It's not the best offense. It's not the offense we're accustomed to seeing with Oklahoma, but Brent Venables has done an outstanding job putting together defensive talent and gearing them up defensively to come compete in this league. I've been very impressed with their defense. A lot of great athletes, a lot of twitch guys, good defensive line, and of course Brent Venables will blitz and send pressure from all over. He's a tough out, and it's just interesting to me that when expansion comes, and it's the first year because that was the first year for Missouri and A&M. The SEC loves to schedule these brutal stretches for South Carolina. And again, nobody's playing victim here. It's the SEC. There are other schools. I mentioned the Sooners earlier. Auburn had a nice setup with 5 straight home games, but they're 2-3, and go look at who they have to play. Everybody outside of probably Texas, even Georgia, has a very tough slate this year. It is an imbalanced situation because some teams are better than we thought. Some teams are historically good that aren't. Florida and Auburn being one of them. Mississippi State's down. Vanderbilt's a little up. So I believe this league moving forward is going to be sort of like this every single year. So welcome to the SEC. It's big boy football, and South Carolina's just got to take it one game at a time and go compete their butts off. And if they do, good things will happen.